And INC Scan International in Tokyo share their knowledge and skills on disaster preparedness. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and now to the news. Fears mounted over the rise of new cases and fatalities outside China from the new coronavirus outbreak as the World Health Organization warned of a shrinking window to stem the spread of the deadly disease. The warning came as the first European died from the new COVID-19 strain, which first emerged in December in central China, but has now spread to over 25 countries and caused more than a dozen deaths outside the country. A 78-year-old Italian man died after testing positive for the virus, with the death toll reaching 4 in Iran and a number of cases reported across the Middle East, including the first infections in Israel and Lebanon. A second person died in South Korea, according to authorities on Saturday, as the number of cases in the country spiked. Italy has locked down 10 towns and asked over 50,000 people to stay home, a move with echoes of China's lockdown of entire cities in Hubei province at the center of the outbreak. In China, the number of cases outside Hubei, where millions remain under quarantine, has been generally declining, although new hotspots were found in several prisons and hospitals on Friday.
Number of cases with no clear epidemiological link, such as travel history to China or contact with a confirmed case. Apart from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, the Republic of Korea now has the most cases outside China. And we're working closely with the government to fully understand the transmission dynamics that led to this increase. We're also concerned about the increase in cases in the Islamic Republic of Iran, where there are now 18 cases and 4 deaths in just the past 2 days.
Case in Lebanon was detected in the airport because they were screening the symptomatic cases coming from Iran, and this is how this case was detected. And the original office in Cairo is now in contact with the 2 countries to assess the situation first and to try to evaluate what is the kind of technical assistance that these 2 countries may need, and we are ready to provide this technical assistance.
What is really important in epidemiology when you observe an epidemic is to remember that surveillance or monitoring of the disease aims at taking the best possible decision. And so it's really numbers for action and not numbers for numbers. And so as long as we understand how things are counted and what the numbers include, then it helps us to make the best possible decision to protect the health of the people.
So what I believe is the window of opportunity is still there. But where our window of opportunity is narrowing, I would put it that way, narrowing. And that's why we called the international community to act. And that's why I explained yesterday, although we're asking for the international community to act quickly, including the financing, that's not what we see.
Indeed, we see that the situation is evolving. Not only the number of cases is increasing, but also we see different patterns of transmission in different places.
Meanwhile, South Korea reported 142 more coronavirus cases, the sharpest spike in infections yet, with many new cases involving patients being treated in hospital for mental health issues. The national toll of 346 is now the second highest outside of China, with a jump in cases at the hospital in the southern city of Chengdu, following a similar spike among members of a religious sect in the nearby city of Daegu. Among the new cases, 92 were related to patients or staff at Chengdu Daenem Hospital, according to the Korea Centers for Disease Control. and Prevention, or KCDC. Authorities said some cases show no confirmed epidemiological connections, meaning they're not sure where or how they contracted the virus. Authorities reported another death on Saturday, taking the toll to 2. Now, both victims had been inpatients at the hospital. Almost 170 members of the Shinjeonji Church of Jesus have now been infected, starting with a 61-year-old woman who attended at least 4 services at the church's Daegu branch before being diagnosed. KCDC said some 9,300 Shinjeonji members in Daegu have either been quarantined at facilities or have been asked to stay at home. Among them, 1,261 said they had symptoms. Shinjeonju offered an apology, suspending its worship services and gatherings nationwide. And Israel confirmed Friday its first case of new coronavirus in a citizen who flew home from Japan earlier this week after being quarantined on the stricken cruise ship Diamond Princess.
You know, it was a decision of the Ministry of Health, but we are very proud to bring back Israelis who were stuck in this ship. Every day, more and more people got ill, and I think it's a national mission to bring these people back. It was very, very exciting to see them yesterday morning, you know, in the middle of the night actually, arriving, very happy to be back in their home, despite the fact that they are in full isolation. They're very far from anybody. It's, you know, in many ways like a jail. We tried to make it as best as we could to have them in a very nice and comfortable place, but very isolated. One of them is positive. She's not sick. She's totally healthy. She feels she's asymptomatic, but she's a carrier of the virus because she did come back positive. She had a negative result from Japan, but the first thing we did yesterday night was have another test for everybody, and all of them were negative except one patient.
A total of 15 Israelis were among the passengers quarantined on board the Diamond Princess, of whom 11 have flown home. The others all tested negative for the virus. The returning Israelis had all been placed in quarantine for 14 days at the Sheba Hospital in the central town of Tel Hashomer. At the start of the month, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it was inevitable that the COVID-19 outbreak, which first emerged in China, would reach Israel. He urged health authorities to focus on developing a vaccine. In late January, the government banned all flights from China from landing in Israel. This month, it also began refusing entry to foreign nationals who had visited Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, or Thailand over the past 2 weeks. The first case of the novel coronavirus in Lebanon was confirmed on Friday, according to the health minister, adding that 2 other suspected cases were being investigated.
يعني نصيبنا مثل كثير من الدول سجلت أول حالة اليوم في لبنان. مكان الإقلاع كان فريق الوزاري جاهز، طلع على متن الطائرة وكشف على كافة المسافرين، وحينما تبين أن هذه الحالة تعاني من عوارض تم مباشرة إلى عزلها عبر الصليب الأحمر الدولي إلى مستشفى رفيق الحريري الجامعي.
The COVID-19 virus was found in a 45-year-old Lebanese woman who had traveled from Qom in Iran. He said a medical source at the hospital where the woman is being treated told AFP that she returned from Iran with a high fever, but that her immunity was good and her condition stable. Hamad Hassan said that all the people who were on the same flight from Iran had been contacted by the health authorities. He also said that anyone returning from Iran would be asked to observe a 2-week home quarantine. The COVID-19 outbreak first appeared in Iran on Wednesday. Thousands of Lebanese travel to Iran every year to visit the Shiite sites in Qom and other cities. Tehran has now confirmed a total of 18 infections and 4 deaths by the SARS-like virus, which first emerged in China in late December. Around 30 Filipinos who were repatriated from Wuhan, China, have been confirmed to be negative for the 2019 coronavirus disease, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs on Saturday. Take a look. The Filipino repatriates can now go back to their respective residences as they exhibited no signs and symptoms of COVID-19 after their mandatory 14-day quarantine period, according to the DFA in a press statement. The DFA also said all of them were declared healthy since they manifested no signs of fever, cough, or sore throat during their 14-day stay at the quarantine facility in New Clark City in Capas, Tarlac. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo also assured the public that the government is taking all precautionary measures and safety protocols to ensure the seamless repatriation of Filipinos from Japan. Meanwhile, relatives of the more than 500 Filipino workers aboard the virus-hit Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan are appealing for their loved ones to be repatriated immediately on Saturday. And they met with the employer, Magsaysay Maritime Corporation in Manila, to discuss the health status of the workers as well as repatriation and quarantine procedures. A 14-day quarantine is expected to start for the more than 1,000 crew still on board.
Agapan kaagad at mabilisang naaksyonan ng ating gobyerno.
Kaya nga naasahan ko sana mapauwi na sila lahat, healthy sila, huwag na silang mabawasan. Kasi nababawasan sila everyday eh. Pagka hindi tumawag yung anak ko ng isang araw, kinakabahan na rin siyempre kami. Kailangan, hanggat kumpleto pa sila, pauwi na sila.
Sana ma-pull out na sila doon kasi nagkakahawaan.
Napil ko sa araw na to, in good health sila. Dahil pati yung, hindi lang naman Magsaysay, pati yung Princess Cruise, yun ang mahagap sa kanila, talagang suporta sila.
Mahabang panahon no, na dapat naagapan kaagad at mabilisang naaksyonan ng ating gobyerno na i-rescue sana no, yung ating mga manggagawa dahil sila ay napaka-vulnerable, nasa vulnerable silang posisyon no, dahil sila ay patuloy pa rin na nagtatrabaho doon.
The Department of Health on Saturday said the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Disease rescheduled the repatriation of Filipinos on board ship MV Diamond Princess to early next week. This is to allow the Japanese health authorities to complete the laboratory testing of the 400-plus Filipino crew aboard the ship and comply with the established Japanese quarantine protocols, according to the Department of Health in a statement. It added that the Japanese government ensured that it would provide appropriate health services for the affected Filipinos on board the ship. Meanwhile, Italy's COVID-19 cases rise. Here's Zavina Balsita for the report.
Just a few hours ago, people have been confirmed to be infected with COVID-19 in northern Italy. This is what Councillor of Welfare of Lombardy region, Giulio Gallera, said. 5 were doctors.
A 38-year-old man is in intensive care in Codogno, while his GP is in Milan for pneumonia. He had had dinner with a colleague who had returned from China. His pregnant wife and a friend, hospitalized at the Sacco Hospital, were also positive. In Lombardy, the infected people are a 38-year-old man, a Unilever employee, his 8-month-old pregnant wife, a boy who played five-a-side ball with a 38-year-old, and 3 customers at a bar in Codogno. Between the end of January and the beginning of February, the 38-year-old went to dinner with a colleague who had returned from China. All 55 Italians who returned to Rome from Wuhan last February 3rd and have been in quarantine at Chiquignola for 18 days have left the military city. The first 19 people left yesterday and the remaining 36 this morning. Waiting for them outside the military city were the family cars or the army shuttles bound for Termini Station and Fiumicino Airport. Now the structure will be thoroughly cleaned while waiting for the Italian nationals who will be disembarked from the Diamond Princess cruise ship docked in the port of Yokohama in Japan.
The Chinese couple confined at the Spallanzani Hospital in Rome is reportedly improving, while the young Italian researcher is repetitively negative on the test for the coronavirus. I am Zavina Balsira, and I am 1 with 25.
Meanwhile, streets were deserted and residents warned to keep out of an emergency room on Saturday in an Italian town placed under lockdown as a second death from coronavirus sparked fears throughout the region. Now, in the small town of Codogno, with a population of 15,000, where 3 people have already tested positive for the virus, including one 38-year-old man now on life support. On Saturday, Italian news agency ANSA reported the second death from the virus in the Lombardy region where Codogno is located. It came one day after the death of a 78-year-old retired bricklayer from the Padua area in the nearby Veneto region who was the first local person in Europe to die from the coronavirus. ANSA also reported that the new victim was a woman. No further information was immediately available. Italy's health minister said that the man who died on Friday, Adriano Trevisan, had been admitted to hospital 10 days earlier for an unrelated health issue. He was one of 2 people in the Veneto region with the virus, where another confirmed case overnight in a 53-year-old man brought that number to 3. President of the Veneto region, Luca Zaya, told Rai 24 News. In Lombardy, 16 other people were discovered to have caught the virus, and the region took immediate measures to isolate affected areas. It wasn't immediately clear whether the victim on Saturday was part of that group or a new case. In Rome, 3 people are being treated in isolation for the virus. And a Chinese expert says COVID-19 could possibly turn into a long-standing disease and coexist with humans like influenza. Here's Dr. Wang Chen, president of Peking Union Medical College Hospital, as he shares his long-time prediction for this disease. Take a look.
传播性和致病性都很强的这样的一个疾病，它的这样病原的病毒也是这样一个特点。对于这样兼具着很强的传播性和很强的致病性的病毒，它是不容易存活和在人间持续传播的。要么把这个宿主杀死了，它由此它也就生存不在了。而像这个病呢，我们说就是一个有可能转成慢性的，像流感一样长期在人间存在个病，这种可能性是完全存在的。对此呢，我们要做好准备。也就是说，从流行病学上对它的流行规律，从病毒学上对它的生物学规律，从临床上防诊治方面的相对措施，在生产生活中的一些防范的措施，我们都要针对这个疾病、这个病原的特点做出相应的安排。
He also said COVID-19 will turn into a common disease like the flu, so we must be prepared in terms of clinical diagnosis and treatment and also in terms of prevention in our daily lives, unquote. An eruption of new coronavirus cases in South Korea, Iran, and Chinese hospitals and prisons rekindled concerns about the spread of the disease. The World Health Organization earlier warned nations could face a serious problem if they fail to hit hard now against the virus. And Chinese authorities have placed tens of millions of people under quarantine in hard-hit central Hubei province and restricted movements in other cities far from the epicenter. Many nations have banned travelers from China, and airlines have suspended flights to and from the country. But clusters and outbreaks continue to emerge. Chinese officials said a potential vaccine could be submitted for clinical trials around late April. Meanwhile, farmer Nguyen Van Thuan is still going to work in the rice fields each day in Son Loy commune in Vietnam, a week since the 10,000 population area was placed under quarantine after cases of the COVID-19 virus were discovered. Take a look.
Có phải xin giấy của xác nhận của xã và trưởng thôn người ta ký kết vào xong mình mới được ra ngoài đồng thì các điểm chốt người ta phải phun thuốc khử trùng tiêu độc cho mình, đấy xong mình mới được ra ngoài này. Ra ngoài thì vẫn phải chấp hành đây chứ không dám đi lang thang ở đâu. Không, chủ trương của Đảng nhà nước mà đề ra là mình vẫn là người dân vẫn phải chấp hành cho nó đỡ hoang mang cái tư tưởng mà còn làm ăn.
Meanwhile, China's armies of racing, swerving motorcycle deliverymen have been hailed as saviors during the virus crisis, keeping shut-in citizens fed and stocked up. But it's come with major adjustments for couriers like Gao Yuchao. Take a look.
有些人你离他近一点，你问路或者干什么的，他会不让你靠近，会让你保持距离。有的人对这个病还是吓得要死了。有这个病天天都一直在暴增，可能从前天开始吧，可能有所下降。这段时间我们肯定也要害怕呀，我们也怕死啊。
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
In Syria's Idlib, there's no escaping the war, so Abdullah al-Mohammed says the only way he found to reassure his daughter, Salwa, was to turn the shelling into a game. A video in which she laughs every time an explosion goes off was widely shared on social media in recent days as a heartening but grim reminder of Idlib residents' daily lives. Take a look.
الفكرة أنا جتني من سنتين تقريبا، كان عيد وكانوا أولاد عم يلعبوا بالألعاب النارية، فصار انفجار بالألعاب النارية وهيك، الأولاد عم يلعبوا، فالبنت خافت، ففورا أنا طلعتها وقلت لها لا يعني عادي هدول أولاد عم يلعبوا يعني لا تخافي يعني. لك بعد ما فتت وكذا خطرت لي الفكرة انه شغلة منيحة بما انه اقتنعت يعني هي انه بالفعل هذا اولاد عم يلعبوا، فصرت كل ما تجي الطيارة او كذا طالع الجوال قال لها تعال نضحك هذول الاولاد عم يلعبوا كذا، هذا عيد ميلاد، هذا عيد كذا، يعني قدر الامكان انه حاول انه فهمه انه هذا شيء ما هو سيء، شلون هذا شيء بضحك يعني. في طيارة لا هي قذيفي؟ قذيفي؟
إيه أنا قصتي بضحك.
طلعت. في بضحك معه؟ قذيفي. في بضحك. الفيديو كان عم بيصير في قصف، هذا الفيديو اللي نشرته كان عم بيصير قصف، ففورا طلعت الجوال لانه شفتها بدها تخاف او كذا، طلعت الجوال وصورتها وقلت لها شو هاي الطياره؟ قالت لي لا قذيفه، فهي صارت تفهم انه هاي في قذيفه وطياره بس ضلت عم تضحك. هلا بعدين بدها تصير تفهم انه شيء بيموت هذا شيء كذا، بس من هلق لهذاك الوقت بيكون على القليل فهمت ايش نحن وايش قضيتنا. طلعت صار لنا 9 سنين بنوجه رسائل، ملينا من توجيه الرسائل، بدنا بس الاطفال تعيش حياه كريمه بس لا اكثر ولا اقل، طموحات ما ضل عنا. تمام، طموحنا الاول انه نعيش حياه ما فيها قصف ولا فيها طيران، والاولاد يتعلموا ويكملوا حياتهم وبس.
Meanwhile, families fleeing violence in northwest Syria are burning their clothes to protect themselves against freezing winter temperatures, according to UN humanitarians on Friday, while also warning of a bloodbath unless a ceasefire is agreed. Since December 1, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or OCHA, has reported that more than 900,000 civilians have been displaced amid an offensive by government forces against armed groups in the last opposition-held areas of Idlib Governorate. Of that 900,000, 60% are children, according to OCHA spokesperson Jens Lark to journalists in Geneva. Take a look.
Some 900,000 people have been displaced in northwest Syria since the 1st of December, exceeding the worst-case planning figures by the humanitarian community. Let me stress that when I say 900,000 people, it's actually mostly children. 60% of those are minors. Most of the displaced have moved into increasingly crowded areas towards the border between Idlib and Turkey. About a third of them, some 330,000, have fled to areas in northern Aleppo Governorate, which is adjacent to Idlib. 170,000 of the newly displaced people are estimated to be living in the open or in unfinished buildings. More than 280,000 are staying in camps which are already stretched beyond capacity, or in makeshift camps where they set up individual tents but where there are no basic services such as latrines. In the freezing winter, many people have resorted to burning their spare clothes, pieces of furniture or other materials that let out toxic fumes. The front lines and relentless violence continues to move closer to these areas which are packed with displaced people, with bombardments increasingly affecting displacement sites and their vicinity. We call for an immediate ceasefire to prevent further suffering and what we fear may end in a bloodbath. On this background, the humanitarian readiness and response plan for northwest Syria that I have talked about earlier, that was completed last month, has been revised upwards. We initially sought to help 800,000 displaced people over the next 6 months. We are now planning to address the needs of 1.1 million people. The requirements have also increased from an initial $336 million to about $500 million. We have so far received funding of about 100 million of that.
In other news, London police on Saturday charged a 29-year-old homeless man with causing grievous bodily harm and possessing an illegal knife he used to stab a mosque leader during prayers. Suspect Daniel Horton stabbed London Central Mosque's Muazzin Rafat Maglad during daily prayers on Thursday. London police, this is Maglad, London police quickly ruled out a terror motive. Now, Mr. Maglad was treated at a London hospital and returned to the mosque for Friday's evening service with his arm wrapped in a sling. "I forgive him," he said. "I feel very sorry for him," he told reporters on Friday. Several regulars at the Regent's Park area mosque in northwest London said they had seen Horton attend a few services in the past year. Horton will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court for a preliminary hearing later Saturday. Eagle News will be right back.
Mula noon,
We are living during the most extraordinary time in human history.
All transport will go fully electric.
Es wird eine völlig neue Mobilität geben, meine Damen und Herren.
Rev, the new auto show on DW. Getting you into gear on cutting-edge developments.
Wasserstofferzeugung braucht Energie.
We focus on green technology.
Das Auto ist im Betrieb absolut emissionsfrei.
And also feature head-to-heads. And the latest launches.
Das Fahrgefühl war gut, er lässt sich sehr gut fahren, er liegt sehr gut auf der Straße.
And mobility stories from around the world.
Mercedes depuis 2005.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
The International Monetary Fund Chief, Kristalina Georgieva, mentioned that the economic impact of the COVID-19 epidemic could see a V-shaped trajectory with a sharp decline in China's GDP, followed by a sharp recovery. This was during the opening ceremony of a G20 meeting in which finance ministers and central bank governors are gathering to discuss the global economy and the risks from the COVID-19 epidemic. She warned that the situation could have more dire consequences for other countries as the impacts spill over. Take a look.
What we don't know still is how exactly the virus spreads and how extensively it would go beyond China. We don't know. We don't know yet with certainty how quickly it would be contained, and as it is being contained, to what extent the impact, the spillover to the world economy would be bigger or smaller. But we still project as the most likely scenario a V-shaped impact of the virus, in which a very abrupt and significant drop in China will be followed by fairly rapid recovery, and the spillover to the rest of the world would be moderate. But we recognize there are other scenarios that can be significantly more impactful.
French state-owned energy giant EDF began shutting down the country's oldest nuclear power plant after 43 years in operation. EDF said it had disconnected one of two reactors at Fessenheim along the Rhine near France's eastern border with Germany and Switzerland at 2 a.m. local time in the first stage of the complete closure of the plant. The removal of the fuel is expected to be completed by the summer of 2023, but the plant will only be fully decommissioned by 2040 at the earliest. Shutting down Fessenheim became a key goal of anti-nuclear campaigners after the catastrophic meltdown at Fukushima in Japan in 2011. Experts have noted that construction and safety standards at Fessenheim, brought online in 1977, fall far short of those at Fukushima, with some warning that seismic and flooding risks in the Alsace region had been underestimated. France will still be left with 56 pressured water reactors at 18 nuclear power plants. Only the United States has more reactors at 98, generating an unmatched 70% of its electricity needs. Now, Japan is one of the most prominent countries in the world where natural disasters such as earthquakes and typhoons frequently happen. So the Iglesia Ni Cristo Society of Communicators and Networkers, or SCAN International Tokyo chapter, headed a disaster preparation seminar there to help them become fully prepared for an earthquake directly hitting Tokyo and other various disasters. Here's Tyler Liu for the report.
As Japan celebrates the Kenkoku Kinen no Hi, or the country's National Foundation Day on February 11th, the Society of Communicators and Networkers, or SCAN International Tokyo chapter, headed a disaster preparation seminar at Sona area Tokyo at the Tokyo Rinkai Disaster Prevention Park in Ariake, Kodo City in Tokyo, to further equip themselves with knowledge and experience to better assist the people and the community in times of emergency. As you can see behind me today, this is the SCAN International. They are currently undergoing the seminar for disaster prevention. The training started with a film viewing of an animation showing how Tokyo would look like in a magnitude 8 earthquake. This was followed by the Tokyo Direct Hit Earthquake 72-hour tour at the Disaster Prevention Experience Learning Facility, where attendees would pass through several areas that showed and placed them in disaster hit zones with the use of advanced technology. They were each given a tablet device that lets them take the disaster prevention quiz with 5 questions and confirms hazards throughout an AR experience for the attendees to acquire knowledge and survival. Participants can navigate through a diorama equipped with sound, lightning, videos, and a wave of aftershocks as they head to the evacuation area. The whole scenario reflects a magnitude 7.3 earthquake and hence will give attendees first-hand experience of the disaster and learn how to evacuate safely. At the end of the tour, each attendee could see their survival rate on the screen. The facility, which opens free of charge to all residents in Japan, helps people prepare themselves for disasters by acquiring the skills to picture a disaster and respond appropriately.
Nagkaroon po kami ng disaster prevention po para matulungan po namin ang mga komunidad. Napakaganda po na pag-aralan po natin yung ganitong disaster po rito sa Japan sapagkat napakalimit na po ang mga paglindol. Kailangan tayo makasurvive ng within 72 hours po. Kaya kailangan po malaman natin yung mga iba-ibang mga paraan po rito kung paano natin may survive ang ating mga sarili, ang ating mga kamag-anak, ating pong mga kababayan po rito, lalo-lalo na tayong mga iskan, ano po?
At the last part of the activity, Brother Naoki Kobayashi, Tokyo SCAN officer, led the group in a workshop and quick demonstration of various rescue operations. SCAN International was organized by the Iglesia Ni Cristo's executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, more than 3 decades ago to be of assistance not only to the church members in times of need, but also for the benefit of the community in the midst of emergencies and disasters.
The SCAN International is organized by our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, not only for the benefit of the Brotherhood of the Iglesia de Cristo, but even for the non-members, especially here in Japan, where it's prone to calamities like earthquakes and tsunamis, among others. So our brethren, especially those under the SCAN organization, are always ready to extend help. So they strive to join this kind of activity to acquire skills and knowledge handy in times of calamities.
火山の噴火とかたくさんある中、他の人々の救い、安全のためにこのグループは努めています。もちろんこの自然災害が多いここ日本でより多くの人々を救われてほしいという思いで、この教会のメンバー、このような自然災害のセミナー、ワークショップ参加して少しでも貢献できればなと思っています。私たちはスキャン
We are the officers of SCAN here in Tokyo, Japan chapter. As what is expected from us, it is our duty to help others regardless of their nationality, and above all, helping our brethren in times of calamities and disasters is our primary duty.
The group just turned 31 this year, and here in Japan, this is one of the activities the Tokyo chapter organized for the SCAN's 31st founding anniversary. Just last Sunday, the organization also gathered for a special worship service in Saitama as a thanksgiving for their anniversary. SCAN International officers and members in Tokyo expressed their gratitude to the INC's leader for establishing the group.
Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity like this. We were given a chance to experience this training to prepare ourselves in times of need. I enjoyed the time.
Our founding chairman, Ka Eduardo V. Manalo, maraming salamat. We are SCAN officers skilled up today. We are happy. Glory be to God.
Thank you! Do you understand? Okay.
Right here from Tokyo, Japan, this is Tyronel Pilyilu for Eagle News. And I am 1 with 25.
私たちは25と1つです。
SCAN International, or the Society of Communicators and Networkers International, is an international group of volunteer rescue workers of the Iglesia Ni Cristo. They provide rescue services to communities not just in the Philippines, but as you can see earlier, or as you saw earlier, in other countries as well, with their theme, Saving Lives is Our Priority. It was established by INC Executive Minister Brother Eduardo Manalo, who is its founding chairman to provide service to communities wherever in the world they may be. Now, another SCAN International event was held in Manitoba. Here's Kathy May Pangan.
Have you seen the SCAN special worship service held here last week in Manitoba on the Iglesia Ni Cristo News and Updates? Do you know that the lesson preached by our district minister, Brother Sidney R. Santos, truly inspired our SCAN members in inviting people to today's evangelical mission sponsored by the SCAN members? You can see the results of today's evangelical mission by means of pictures and videos. Reporting for Eagle News from Manitoba, I am Kathleen May Pangan. I am 1 with 25.
The Buffalo Bandits took on the Vancouver Warriors and came away with their 5th straight win. Here's Anthony Sevilla for the report.
The Buffalo Bandits remained undefeated on the road this season after they defeated the Vancouver Warriors 15-8 and improved the record to 6-1. Vancouver pulled the trigger early on, with just 47 seconds after the first face-off. Mitch Jones' point shot went right through the Bandits goaltender, first of 3 goals on the night. Buffalo would take advantage in the second quarter by scoring 5 unanswered goals. Despite a strong start from the Warriors, they were unable to generate that same energy late in the game. The Bandits would eventually pull away in this game, with another 4 unanswered goals to claim their 5th straight victory.
Our first big win, our first win with like a good lead. That's what we've been looking for. You know, we've been having these close games, just barely squeaking it out. We needed that one. He may not be here with us, but he does a great job of being a leader from still back at home. And you know, our defense does a great job of filling that role. You know, he's a big role on the defense, but I think they played well tonight. And he's still, even when he's not here, he's still the biggest part of our team. And it's a quick turnaround. Luckily, we've played them once before. We got to rest up. That was a tough game. Bodies are sore. We got to rest up, ice up, and then get right back into film tomorrow.
We had a game plan going in, and we thought we started the game off doing what we wanted to do, and for whatever reason, we kind of got away from that, and they went on a couple goal run there, and we started playing a little bit undisciplined with possessions, and then near the end of the game playing undisciplined with penalties. So yeah, we battled, we did our things, but there was a point in that game where we were just like, if we just keep doing what we want to do, yeah, at the end of the day, undisciplined lacrosse will kill you every time.
Warriors forward Mitch Jones led his team in scoring, recording 3 goals and 3 assists. The former Buffalo Bandits player highlighted the many mistakes the team made in the loss to Buffalo.
I mean, that's a good team. We knew that coming in. We could talk about what they did right, but I think as a group we're kind of focused on what we did wrong. Not to take anything away from them, but there's just a lot of mistakes out there. It starts with our leadership group, but there's a lot of mistakes that we've making. We kind of had those 2 games stepping forward, and I think it was kind of a 1 step forward, 2 steps back tonight. Good news is we're back at it this weekend, so hopefully it's a blip on our radar, but we'll see how we respond.
From Vancouver, Anthony Sevilla, Eagle News, 1:25.
Meanwhile, a growing number of young people of Filipino descent in Canada have adopted the national sport of their adopted country. Thomas I. Likeness tells us more.
Most people think basketball is the sport of Filipinos, but here in the Canadian city of Edmonton, b-ball has a rival. It seems that hockey is a hit among young people from the Philippines. 12-year-old Ryan Belisi has been playing organized hockey for 2 years now. Ryan says his interest in the game came naturally.
I think it was really just me growing up in the environment. Well, I think I went to like tons of hockey games as like a very small kid, so like maybe when I was a baby, but so.
Now, Ryan is not alone on the ice. He says there's a growing number of Filipino Canadians shooting pucks.
But there's a lot of good Filipino hockey players, but it's not just basketball that we play, but it's a variety of sports. It's not just those sports that we're all traditionally used to, like volleyball and basketball. It's also things like hockey, but.
Ryan has combined his love of sports with something else, as evidenced by this logo on his helmet.
It's just the INC sticker, and it's the logo, and I hope to represent INC at all times when I'm playing on the ice.
INC stands for Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, the church to which Ryan belongs. What was his motivation?
Because anything is possible with God, right? So, you know, without him, like I can't play as well, but I can't do a lot of things that I can't do today, so.
Hockey, like other sports, can lead to college scholarships for players who excel at the game. Is this in Ryan's future?
Yeah. With God's mercy, anything can happen, but so.
Tonight's game didn't go so well. The Sabres lost 7-6.
It was a good battle till the end, but they just came out on top.
Hockey is becoming a family affair for the Belisis. Ryan's younger brother, CJ, he's pictured here with the rest of the family, is also in organized hockey. Although Ryan loves the game of hockey, he's embraced something far more important. He stands up for what he believes and is freely willing to share it. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, 1:25.
The city government of Manila continues to attract more tourists and even local residents by restoring its historic landmarks back to their glorious stature. Our Hawaii correspondent, Alfred Acenas, recently visited several of these locations and has this report.
Our first stop was Binondo, the city's Chinatown located across the Pasig River opposite from the walled city of Intramuros. Established by the Spanish colonial government in 1594, it would become a permanent settlement for Chinese and other immigrants. In the early 20th century, Binondo became a financial hub consisting of commercial banks, insurance firms, and other such institutions from Europe and the United States. These establishments were located mostly along Escolta, which used to be known as the Wall Street of the Philippines. But after World War II, most businesses began to relocate to sprawling areas outside Manila. Upon arrival, Binondo already looked like a city within a city. But don't be fooled by its outward appearance filled with narrow streets and constant noises by vehicles and merchants. For those craving for things Chinese, some of the best cuisines are still located right here and at very reasonable prices. We later crossed the Pasig River and visited the Manila Central Post Office building, the centerpiece of the country's postal services. Completed in 1926, it was destroyed during World War II in 1945, but was immediately rebuilt a year later. The Central Post Office is located across a famous plaza, the Liwasang Bonifacio, complete with a statue of revolutionary hero Andres Bonifacio, along with a colorful fountain and plenty of green space for friends and families to get together. The post office building was considered as the grandest during its heyday and is still considered a dominating landmark in Metro Manila, especially at night. Our final stop was Jones Bridge, which was once called Manila's Queen of Bridges. In 1916, the U.S. government, which back then occupied the Philippines, decided on a new bridge to replace an older one built by Spain. Formerly named the William A. Jones Memorial Bridge, it was built in honor of the statesman behind the Jones Law that paved the way to grant the Philippines temporary independence. Sadly, Jones Bridge was among numerous structures that were destroyed during World War II, but rebuilt in 1950. After a century of wear and tear, the city invested roughly the equivalent of $400,000 donated by Chinese Filipino businesses for rehabilitation, which involved relocating back sculptures at the entrance, as well as installing ornate lampposts, hundreds of small LED lights, and brightly colored paint, all to illuminate the structure and to connect the capital's two oldest communities in grand fashion that only the city of Manila knows how. Other attractions also worth visiting include Old Manila in Intramuros, Rizal Park, and Manila Bay. So, if you have the chance to visit the Philippines, take time to visit these iconic locations, all in the city of Manila. This is Alfred Acenas, Eagle News, always one with 25.
Thanks, Alfred. You sure enjoyed your stay here. And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here at Eagle News, thank you and we'll see you soon. I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25. Good night.